Why do the people who don't watch or pay attention to Owen at all hate him the most? That is
Because
an
they
interesting
secretly
comment.
know I'm right, and it's super scary. I mean, if you want to talk about flat Earth later, we can too. But the vitriol over some of my opinions is so not valid. You know, like I used to host a physics podcast at Caltech, and I like science and I like claims and proof and trying to do experiments and math. And so I am skeptical of the globe, and that's totally valid. Like that shouldn't be something that makes people feel crazy. Same with me starting an organic farm or me refusing to not say a certain derogatory word. Like people are like, no, you have to believe that. And like the moon landing was one of the worst. People went fucking nuts where they're like, you have to believe that these three Freemasons played golf on the moon and destroyed the evidence and never went back. Like you have to believe that. I'm like, no, because deep down inside, something is saying, oh shit, if he's right, that sucks for me. And it doesn't suck. It's fun. And I'm wrong about some stuff, and I don't even care. Like my whole theme is I might be wrong, but I'm not lying. Would people want me to lie and say, "Oh yeah, those Freemasons definitely played golf on the moon with that rover and everything"? It's great. I'm not gonna lie.
You have a
You know,
good, like, lighthearted approach, like,
yeah,
almost like
it's
a
not.
Buddhist
Yeah,
level acceptance, but at the same time, like, you focus on what you can control
yeah, and the
and, like,
key is
yeah.
not making claims. Like I wouldn't even call myself I'm definitely part of the flat Earth community, and I relate a lot to those people, but I don't know what the earth is. Like I can't prove it's flat. So I actually would call myself a globe skeptic or a realm earther.
Okay.
Because there is no evidence we're on a spinning ball. And
You're globe curious.
globe curious, that's hilarious. It's because the odds we're on a spinning ball to me are 0%. It's not even close. It's like a joke at this point. And it's kind of like the odds a certain medical experiment is super good for you. Is so low. It's like I'm just not even
Mhm.
listening to it. Because what happened to me is I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be, I was horrified. There's a whole videos on the internet of me having this process that was very, very painful. And for those of you that are super triggered by this talk, just skip ahead. It's no big deal. If you call me stupid and crazy and all that, no one knows why you're doing it. It just makes no sense. Like, think about how much crazier most people's behavior is than just wondering. Like, I trust my eyes more than Neil deGrasse Tyson. And if
Hmm.
that's a problem with people, all right. So anyway, what happened to me is this guy named Eric Dubay, who's really known for flat smacking people, which is like really shoving the evidence in people's faces, was like trolling my YouTube years ago, and I hated him. And I thought flat earthers were absolute fools and they were embarrassing. I swear to God, I thought that. And so, and I was really close to the science community, although I had a moment of clarity with them that I'll talk about in a second. But so I was like, all right, everybody, let's prove this idiot wrong. Cause I was going to debate him. He's like, debate me. He's like, debate. Are you scared to debate me, Big Bear? And I'm like, no, I'm not scared, but I'm
Debate
going to
bear.
win.
Yeah.
And so I took like a month and I was asking my audience, show me all the evidence that we're not spinning ball. I'm going to crush this dude. And there's none. There's literally not. It's like a joke. It's so like, and so I started getting panicky. I was like, this can't be fucking like, guys, come on, give me evidence. And they're like, the sniper. I'm like, oh my God, I'm close with like 1,000 snipers. They don't factor in the spin. And then they're like, well, air pilots have other equipment has to factor in the curve. I'm like, oh shit, no, they don't. I'm like, Pilot Bear here is a flat earther too. Like they don't have all their equipment says for a flat plane. And then they're like, well, 3,000 years ago, some asshole in Alexandria had two obelisks. And I'm like, oh my God, this is seriously all we have is NASA. Like we have NASA, which was started by Nazis and black magicians. And it's so full of shit, it's insane. That's the only evidence we're on a spinning ball. And then the evidence we're not on a spinning ball is like everything. So lighthouses, 8 inches per mile squared. How can a plane going east to west or west to east with a spin of 1,000 miles an hour not have a difference in flight times? Like it just gets to a point, and then the ellipse around the sun is like 1 year. I mean, I could go on and on. It doesn't matter. I'll just talk about like my experience with it. And if you look in the Bible, it's all flat earth. It's all God made a fixed earth. It's nothing of the firmament. I mean,
Yeah.
Werner
We've
von
talked about it.
Braun, one of the
Mhm.
biggest trolls in human history, put Psalm 19:1 on his tombstone. The Nazi who started NASA, which is, God showeth his handiwork in the firmament. Firmament is a hard, fast dome. The water's above. Like when people pray to God, I'm like, so in Australia, do you pray down? Like this is crazy.
Right?
And
Yeah.
then you start looking back at the history of physics. Michelson Morley proved that the Earth isn't moving, which you can do. And then in comes in Einstein with the theory of relativity. It all has to do with where you're standing, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't, because if you have a lighthouse at 40 feet, and another thing that happened was the P900 camera came out, and I did not want this to be true. I'll tell you the moment that it became fun for me was Antarctica, and I'll get to that.
Ooh, the
So,
crust, right? Yeah.
yeah, that was the first time I started being like, wow, this is actually a beautiful existence. Before I was like, oh my God, everyone's going to come, but I can't self deceive. I know that that leads to hell. My dad, like, I watched my dad go from this brilliant guy, he accepted his own lies. I really think it gives you Alzheimer's. Like, I think if
Wow.
you see something that you know is
What
true,
was
you,
he lying to you guys or lying to himself?
himself, yeah, to a point where, and it's so common, and it's like I've
I wonder if that's
some,
what my dad has because it's like
it's
every
common.
conversation with him is like he is spewing like anger, misery, and I'm like, well, how did we go from talking about like the traffic light to like you're angrily gesturing at me about the economy and government? I'm like,
Yeah,
like
yeah, totally.
how did we get here?
Yeah, and so I didn't want to be seen by everyone as crazy. Like, if I'm sure when this goes on YouTube, the comments will be like, "I like what he's saying, but he's a fucking dipshit about flat Earth. What an insane person."
I've already
Yeah.
seen one of those comments. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, no. It's like, and I just resist that because I know where that leads. Listen, if the Earth is a spinning ball, I'll be the first to tell people I did not want to be ostracized. I did not want to be the guy that everybody, like the scum of the Earth. I've interviewed Kip Thorne, who is getting a Nobel Prize for his gravitational field theory. Like I was in the science world. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want the scum of the earth. He's like, these dipshits in the basements, on their little computers being able to call me crazy and stupid. But it's a biblical experience where they don't have a right to judge me and I don't let them judge me. But do you think I wanted that? Do you think I wanted any asshole in the world to feel like they were superior to me because I think the world isn't a spinning ball? And so, but it is what it is. And now I have fun with it. Cause if you look at Antarctica, because some of the lies was where all the fun was. Like there's no flights over Antarctica. There's thousands of flights a day over the North Pole. And this is why I know people are
Hmm.
self-deceiving because they 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 rack their brain for a way to get through my question versus showing interest. Like if someone was like, "Oh, that's super interesting. I'll look into that." That's a whole different world than like, "Well, there's just more people in the northern hemisphere and in the southern there's just not enough people." And so no one the answer, the reason they give for why there's no flights over the South Pole, zero, zero, none, not even private, none, is they don't want to disturb the environment. That's the
Yeah,
official story.
right. Yeah, we literally do everything else to
Well, yeah,
disturb the
because
environment.
women can see through that. Because imagine if a guy lied to like a woman has that lidar where it's like, "Where were you?" I'm like, I was returning some videotapes.
Working.
Yeah, yeah.
Bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so it doesn't matter if you're flying from Buenos Aires to South Africa. Obviously, you're going over Antarctica, and then the next thing is people say, "Oh, there's no place to crash land. God damn it! It's not like the Pacific where you have islands." I'm like, so do you believe that? Like, do you honestly think that thousands of flights a day, and there's endless evidence like this that's just mind blowing when it comes to the stars and the fixed Polaris and everything, just like everything you can, the P900 camera, you know how you think that a ship goes over a curve?
Mhm.
That's the optical illusion. You see a ship, it slowly disappears. No, now there's cameras with unlimited zoom. The technology outpaced the lie where you just zoom in and you see the ship again. It's right there. It's not going over. It just starts disappearing into the haze. And you can track it for 150 miles. And at
Wow.
8 inches per mile square, that should be like 1,200 miles under the curve. It's total bullshit. And so
Yeah.
Antarctica was in. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't know what the actual model of the Earth is because I can't prove any of this. But this is when things got interesting. So they're like, "Oh yeah, we can't." And then people will go with that. They'll be like, "God damn it, what a kook! Owen Benjamin doesn't realize that we don't want to disturb the penguins." And I'm like,
Like, this is the one part
"So
of the environment we don't wanna mess up, really?
yeah, you fly
Yeah.
over Amazon rainforest all day long that have more species in on your pinky there than all of Antarctica. Like what? And then you find out that Antarctica is the highest land on Earth, which is fascinating. So you go around Antarctica. If you went around Antarctica, what you would see is something called an ice wall, where there is no beach. Oh, well, how dare you? It's just a goddamn. No, just it's interesting. I understand that people are going to freak out. They do all the time on me for this. I don't care. I bet in 10 years it'll be obvious. Like, because I think
Mm.
this NASA lie is falling apart because NASA has no authority. The moon landing is so fucking stupid that people are like, science is so, the religion of science is so stupid that when you do the scientific method and you actually try and test things in your life, talk to experts about viscosity of the movement of Earth, like the flat earthers are some of the best scientists I know. Like the experiments that they're willing to do is creative and amazing. And again, if someone isn't into this, I'll still be your friend. Maybe that's one reason why people freak out is you think I'll think you're stupid. I won't. I don't care. Like you could think some of the smartest people I know think the world's a spinning ball. I'm not, I'll still love you. Like I don't care.
I don't
So
understand getting so angry with somebody one way or the other. It's like, we know our media lies to us. We know our
yeah,
government lied
yeah.
to us. Oh, but they would definitely not lie about the earth. Like, well, what's to say that they couldn't lie?
Well, they
Um,
definitely lied.
and
And there's
how
like,
and how does it,
yeah.
and even if it is, like, it doesn't matter what shape it is, like, how does that actually affect your life, like, today? Nothing changes. It's just like, you just have to open up your mind a little bit, be like, "All right, I still have to go to work tomorrow. I still have to feed my kids." Like,
But see, something does change. It's that they actually have to admit they're special. I'll get to the psychology about it in a second. So Antarctica has its the circumference of Antarctica just happens to be the same distance that it would be if it was the ice
oh,
wall around the whole Earth, and it's the highest land in the world, as if it's a bowl, like it's a dish. And so I don't know what it is. All I know is you can private people have sent up a weather balloon 100,000 feet, and it's flat as a fucking pancake. And so when
cool.
people go, "Oh, how dare you?" You go up and you see the curve. You don't. You never see the curve. You'll see fisheye lens. NASA will do all kinds of shit. Red Bull, all this stuff, but there's no curve up there. Uh, a lighthouse 40 feet high can signal to a ship 90 miles out. That's not possible on a curve. You just do the
Right.
math. It's right there. And then they go, "Whoa, the light bends." Do you have any proof of that? Or are you just saying that because you don't want to believe that you're special? Because the whole
Are there
thing about,
yeah, are there mirrors set up in the ocean to, like, catch the bending
dude,
light?
it's so dark how people were like, no, I'm nothing. Because what they're trying to say is, I'm nothing. I don't matter. What I've done is, I'm going to die and I'm going to become dirt.
Well, if you're not special, then there's no stakes in your life, and the mistakes are
Exactly.
meaningless, and
Exactly.
the wasting of time is, less valuable.
The connection to the eternal is way bigger when you realize you're not spinning in an infinite void. Like Carl Sagan, billions and billions and billions of stars like littered trash on a sea, oceans of nothingness. And so people are like, yeah, I can get away with anything. I don't matter. When you reread the Bible after knowing that Genesis is kind of accurate, that there's like, you know, that we're on a fixed plane and there's God above and below, it's way more powerful. And so
Wow.
that's another thing when I hear Christians say, like, call me crazy and insane. I'm like, how do you justify these 15 Bible verses about how the sun stopped in the sky or how, God made the earth to be fixed and stable and unmoving? It's like, well, no, it's all relative. I'm like, oh, relative. Yeah, relativity. It's all fluid, right? Gender fluidity. Yeah, you see why life got so fucking insane? It's like, no, it isn't fluid. We are stable. Like that, in my opinion, this is how I view the world. And so what these people are so afraid of, because the anger at me, I know it's in your comments right now. What a kook. And it's like, man, he really lost it after one pout brownie 5 years ago. It's like, what? And that constant anger towards me over that is just proof as to the psychological damage that it is. It's like, so people can believe in aliens, no problem. There's like little men flying around. Everyone's like, oh yeah, man, aliens, with no
But
evidence at all.
the good thing about being right is you don't have to look into it any further. You can stop and you can move on to something else, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. And I'm not even that big. And that's why I'm like down to talk about it. But 99% of my streams have nothing to do with the shape of the earth. What happened to me, I did go through this process though. And a lot of people found it cathartic because a lot of people wrote to me saying I'd had to do that at home. There's generals in the military that are flat earthers. There's major, a lot of military are because ballistic missiles and stuff don't factor in the curve. And once you start seeing it, once you start actually understanding, like, wait a minute, why aren't we factoring the curve on a fucking ballistic missile that just went 90 miles? Everyone's like, shut up, you fucking idiot. So anyway, so a lot of them come to me, and and I think that's one reason why people can be mad at the globe people, is because they feel abused, but they're not really, they're just scared. A lot of them are just like very scared to say, oh my God, what if we did matter? What if the Bible's real? What if the sun and the moon, and what if, because right now science is saying that the moon is 240,000 miles away, but somehow also in our atmosphere. Their lies are getting nuts. Neil deGrasse Tyson has tried to lie his way out of 8 inches per mile square, because flat earthers are actually gaining a lot of ground. He said the earth is actually a pear to like deal with the
Wow.
wild inconsistencies. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, so a lot of the globe people, if you look at what science is doing right now, it's laughably stupid. So the moon and the sun line up perfectly, like two machine cut quarters, but yet one's 93 million miles away, one's 240,000 miles away. And yet, because one's 400 times closer than the other, it's a perfect match. It's like, dude, so I'm crazy for questioning that, And then, so what happened to me with science, where my love affair with science ended, was I was interviewing Kip Thorne, who did all the physics behind Interstellar, and he was getting a Nobel Prize for gravity. And we talked about dark matter, and the seeds were planted then for me to start being like, oh, these guys are fucking total liars. Where so dark matter, they say dark matter is 90% of the universe. The 90% of all matter, all energy is called dark matter, where you can't measure it, you can't see it, you can't
Kip
touch it.
Kip Thorne kinda looks like, the main character from Breaking Bad.
Yeah. He's a nice guy. Like, I'm not even like, I'm not saying he's lying. I'm
Mhm.
just saying that world doesn't realize how arrogant it is. Like, so they don't do science at all. They write science fiction, and they just say it's real. It's crazy. It's crazy when you see it, and then people will call you crazy for seeing it. But just hear me out about dark matter. So they go 90% of matter in the universe is dark matter. So all the planets you see in the stars, and the pulsars, and the white dwarfs, and the red giants, and the black holes, 186,000 per miles per second escape velocity. Like, I know a lot about their narrative. Like, they don't know that much about mine. They're like, oh, so you think it's a disc in space that you fall off of? I'm like, no. But anyway, I was like, so what's the evidence of dark matter? And they're like, well, you can't measure it. I'm like, so how do you know it's there? He goes, because if it wasn't, we'd be wrong. And I was like, what? I mean, I didn't do it live. I was still talking to him, but the seeds in my head were like, so the evidence is, so let me get this straight. So the evidence is that 90% of the universe is material you can't see, touch, or measure. And the only
Whoa.
evidence for that is because if it wasn't, your gravitational equations wouldn't work, because they don't work.
What?
That's literally the science of dark matter, dark energy. And so at that point, I was like, oh, I can't trust these people. And that's why I went a little rogue. That's why someone like me can actually entertain the idea of a flat earth, because one thing I know is what they're saying is total bullshit. So NASA is saying that they went to the moon, they destroyed the technology and the evidence. It's too painful to
Yeah,
rebuild.
why would you destroy the technology? And if it
Want
was
to know what they
I
said?
think if it was real, why are we not sending TikTokers to the moon? Like,
Why
that's my
wasn't
number
Michael?
one
Why
reason.
wasn't Michael Jackson doing the moonwalk on the moon in 1985?
Right? He could
You know,
have.
yeah. And want to know what their answer is? It's always in the lies that you can see it. Their answers to why they destroyed all
Too
their evidence.
expensive.
Yeah, they taped over the tape. It's right out of American Psycho. They're like, we taped over the tapes, the telemetry data. We had to tape them over because we had budgetary problems in the 70s. And
Wow,
people
that's
were
literally
like,
the same excuse for why my favorite show was taped over in the '90s is literally what NASA is using. Like, "Well, we taped over it."
$58 million a day budget. Every day they get a suitcase of, I think it's just a money laundering scam. But they get $58 million a day budget, and they taped over all the evidence that they went to the fucking moon. They went
Wow.
seamlessly 4 times and then never went back, and said that they don't know how to go back, even though all other
It's like, we
technology
can't
is.
figure it out? Like, we're not smart enough
No,
to,
it's
like,
so
build it
stupid.
back?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a way to enslave people, where you get someone to agree to the dumbest thing imaginable, and then you know you own them. It's like how you know that your slave is there.
Yeah,
An
then an
internet, yeah,
intern.
an intern sold it at a garage sale. Yeah, yeah. And then, and one of the new narratives is that all the math was done by a black woman by hand.
Oh, wow.
So they're just throwing spells on spells. They're like, oh, it's because Helen Keller. I mean, we talked about that last time, and now that's kind of like becoming mainstream. I mean,
That's
Flex
funny.
is selling Helen Keller denier shirts and all that because it's so stupid. It's just like Helen Keller's like, it is not what you're. It's just obviously a lie. And when you're kind of cut free from the lie and you can see these things, a lot of people, and I don't want to be a dick, but like slaves are like, don't you dare go with the master. And then they'll call me crazy and like try to defame me and say that anyone who listens to me is crazy. And I'm like, wait a minute. So you think that those Freemasons, like if you look at the lunar lander, it looks like a meth head's tree fort. It looks like someone smoked a bunch of meth and they went to Joanne Fabrics and they made a tree fort for them and their homies. The contradictions and the lack, it's just so fucking stupid. You'll have these astronauts be like, we got to the moon in less technology than a cell phone. And everyone's like, oh, so much grit.
Yeah, then why
And
aren't you
then,
still doing it?
right. And then they're like, so why can't you go back? They're like, we don't know the technology. It's too complicated. Everyone's like, oh,
Who's
so you're
believing that?
it's crazy. Yeah. So the bottom line is I don't know the shape of the earth. Like, I don't know if we're, you know, on the pupil of God's eye or where this is pure consciousness. I don't know. There's
Or
all kinds of shit.
hollow or like, yeah, there's a
What
different
I know
Middle
is
Earth.
it can't be a spinning ball. There's no curve. You can't measure a curve. Air travel, all of that stuff makes no sense. The Antarctica narrative is total bullshit. The fact it's the highest point on Earth and it happens to have the same circumference of all of it. And if you look at the flights, if you look and want to know what the flat Earth map is, it's the UN map. It's always
Right.
right in plain sight. So the United Nations has a map, and that is the flat Earth map. And so if you track a lot of these flights that make no sense, like why would you have a layover here and blah, blah, blah? They're all straight lines on a flat Earth map. Like if you're on a plane, it's these giant curves.
Mhm.
Again, I don't even care that much. I don't want to just cause pain because right now, the last thing people should even care about is this. Way more like community building, family, morale, health. This is fun. It did help me in certain ways, though. It helped set me free from the idea of hopelessness, that we are from a big bang, chaos out of nothing. What exploded? Something. Where? Nothing. How did it explode? I don't know. Science. And so out of
It
this
got
explosion,
destroyed. Yeah.
yeah. So out of a windstorm came a Lamborghini, is what they're trying to say. That out of chaos came order, like a child's eyeball, came out of an explosion. And so after that, you have unlimited stars with unlimited planets, so you are not special, which basically undercuts every Abrahamic religion in the world. So it's like God created man in his image. We named fish and they were good and all this. And it's like, no, there's unlimited planets. You don't matter. You're insignificant. And so now that there's this great quote on 4chan a while ago. I didn't see it, but someone told me about it. They're like, how come the atheist movement is dead? Because I mean, 5 years ago, it was like Sam Harris and
It's like
everyone's
they
all
didn't believe, you know?
well, someone said something brilliant. They said Satan showed up. That when you see
Oh,
evil,
right.
you're like, oh my God, there is evil in this world. And so now a lot of people are looking for the truth because obviously we are designed. This doesn't come from random chaos, like our hands and our digits. And so it's like, so what are we? And so now in comes in the newest grabble, which is we're in a program. All that is a modern way of saying God, where you're like, oh, it's a program. We're in a simulation and it's hologram and we have a programmer and it's like a computer. It's like, okay, so in the beginning there was a programmer. Like, so it's just creation story, but you're just applying it to a
You're
fallen
subbing
technology.
in
Yeah,
another
exactly.
religion
Yeah, because I get why people hate religion because a lot of churches and stuff are so fraudulent that the people
and the
base God
molesting.
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I get that. I rebelled against it for a long time. I still don't go to a specific church because they all closed during the Holocaust, and I just think most of them are run by people that are lying. Like they have no backbone. They're like, you can't even like quote the Bible without them calling you a sexist. And
Right.
but I think it's a great time to be alive because a lot of people are finally seeing it. They're finally seeing like, oh my God, this life is actually very, very mysterious and special and spiritual. And what you do matters and morality matters. And there's unlimited life and God always provides. And all those like corny ass things that I always thought were ways for some asshole to get money from people were true. Even the asshole trying to get the money was didn't realize how true they were. They were probably in the comment section right now being like, flat earth, send him to a mental institution. It's like, okay. So that was
Yeah.
that.
Oh, he's making me question my paradigm. That's uncomfortable. So let's cancel him.
Oh yeah, well yeah, because the thing is, you're special. People find a lot of comfort in anonymous emptiness, and I've been there. I've toured for a long time by myself, and I understand what it's like to just be like floating from city to city and make new friends every night, do whatever you want, and there's no record of it.
Hmm.
There's a comfort there, but it's a lot more beautiful when you realize that everything does matter. And that's why I think people have such a strong reaction, because it doesn't make logical sense. People should be more invested in their local sports team than the globe. Like, it doesn't make
Wow.
logical sense why people, if I was like, oh, the Yankees suck, I have friends that would get really mad at me. And I understand that more than globe anger. Cause I'm like, it doesn't look like a fucking globe. Do you ever see it spinning? It's like, trust the science, man. We're from emptiness. Nothing matters. That's how I can squirt
Like
all the
you're trying to say that you don't matter. You're trying to justify like your
time.
own
It's like
feelings.
right out of that movie, Good Will Hunting, where it's like, it's not your fault. And he keeps saying
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it's like I almost feel like some of these people, I just want to hug them and be like, "You were made in love." It's like, yeah, I know, man.
No, it wasn't. I was an
You were
accident.
made in love. Like, you matter. It's like, come on, man, not you too, bro. It's like you matter. You're not in infinite darkness. It's like, don't you lie to me, man.
And you just keep hugging them harder and harder until they start crying.
Yeah, and then I whisper, and panda bears are fake.
Love you guys. Thank you for the chats. Thank you for the comments. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Bye. All right. Love you guys. God, I don't even want to leave. This candle smells so good. I don't want to leave. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye. Love you all. Join the Discord. Feet. Love you all. Wow. You guys are awesome. Come and get it. Bye, guys. Bye. Now I'm really leaving. Love you. Bye.